It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Kyle Benedict as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now here's today's Countywide.
Hello and welcome to Countywide. I'm Kyle Benedict, and today we're talking about scams, phone scams, email scams, kind of just scams in general, talking about all of the different types that are out there. And joining me today with the Prescott Valley Police Department is Detective Danny Owen. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Thanks for having me.
So I guess first off, just real basic, what classifies something as a scam?
Scam, the way I look at it, is when somebody's is coaxing you into offering you something for nothing. They're going to call you up, say somebody's in jail, you've won the lottery, things like that, and they need money from you. And in the end, you're the one out the money, you got nothing, is the way we look at it.
And a lot of times you don't get that money back most times, right?
A lot of times you will not.
So how difficult are these to investigate? I mean, that's obviously, can you talk a little bit about what your job consists of when it comes to dealing with scams and just why they're so difficult to investigate?
Absolutely. As an investigator in these types of crimes, I got to look at it as a puzzle missing a lot of pieces. So I have to go out and I have to find the pieces of the puzzle, put it in that puzzle to complete an entire puzzle so that I can present that case to the county attorney's office for charging if we're able to. And a lot of times these cases go outside the U.S. to where we have no closure.
Mm-hmm. How many of these scams are outside of the U.S.? Are most of them?
Majority of them are outside the U.S., but they will use people in the U.S. to help filter their money out of the U.S.
So once you realize a scam is not here on U.S. soil, it's somewhere in, say, Africa or something, mm-hmm. How do those other countries, do they help with that, or can you contact them, or does the investigation kind of just end there?
It really ends there.
Okay.
So I have tried a couple times to get people in other countries to help, but mm-hmm. they don't want to. It's just because they know that it's so big in their country, they're never going to solve it, so they don't want to waste their time.
And I mean, this isn't something that's new, obviously. And as far as the people that you are seeing, the victims in these situations, is there a trend? I mean, who are you seeing are mostly victims from these scams?
A lot of times it's your elderly people. It's your elderly people that have lost a loved one, that the loved one's information's in the newspaper and the obituaries, or it's your young kids that are becoming victims of this. And
so what are the, I guess, scam artists or these people, these companies that are behind these scams? What are they looking for in victims? I mean, why do they pick, say, the elderly or these young people? Is there a reason?
The young people, obviously, by the time that the parent of a child is notified that this child's been working from the IRS and they have an income tax return, the criminal has already gone through so many different victims that they're not going to get caught. So the elderly, same thing. They're more willing to help and want to help, so they won't take the time to make the call to see if this is legit, that Johnny in Mexico has been arrested, or in another country and stranded, or in a hospital and needs financial help.
What are some of the things, if you do think you are a victim of, what are some of the things that will kind of red flags, I guess, that something is a scam?
Anytime you're asked to send money is what I would say, or give your personal information over the phone or over the internet, for that matter.
And are most of them, I mean, I think the most common are phone and email scams is kind of what you think of. But what are some of the different outlets that these scams are happening on? I mean, phone and email, but what else are out there?
That's typically what you see when it comes to the scams like that, other than your credit card scams, where somebody's using your card and you have it in your possession, but they have somehow got the number from someone.
What are the most difficult ones to investigate?
I think they're all about on the same level as far as complexity of them, getting them together and trying to figure it out.
I guess anytime they're out of the country, just like you mentioned, it's really difficult to kind of track those down. Can you talk a little bit about what they want you to do when they ask for money? I mean, what's kind of the process they're asking you to do to receive money?
Well, they'll call you up and let's just use I'm stranded in Mexico. I got arrested in Mexico one. They'll call the person, say that they'll give a name of somebody they know, say that they're stranded in Mexico, and they'll ask them to send Western Union or MoneyGram or Green Dot or Vanilla reloadable cards money to them that way. When they get that money, they'll turn around and withdraw that money off those prepaid credit cards to where we're not able to trace it, or they'll take the Western Union or MoneyGram in another country and we're unable to determine who took it out.
So if you feel like you're a victim, or something just doesn't seem right to you, or too good to be true, I guess, what's the first thing you should do?
I would say contact the police department immediately and let them fill them in on what just happened. If it's a phone call, write the phone number down. Write notes about what the caller said. If they have an accent, if it's a male, a female, if it's an email, try to print it for us. Try not to forward it to a whole bunch of people, because you don't want to infect other people's computers or things like that.
If they're coming from out of the country, are you usually receiving a phone call or an email from someone directly out of the country, or do they have people kind of that are helping them out as middlemen, or is it just from the source to you?
It depends. It can be both ways that you've just described.
Okay.
Majority of the time, it's probably from the source to you. They've hacked some computer system or email system, and they're sending out multiple emails to people. Could be about, hey, our accounts have been hacked, we need your password and personal information because we need to update our system. No company's going to do that.
Okay.
So you're going to see a lot of that.
So most of them, are just kind of trying to. So it seems like they're almost playing with your emotions and trying to make you feel, like you're almost obligated to help them out.
Absolutely,
right.
Especially your dating sites and your lottery scams.
Talk a little bit about the dating sites ones, because phone and email, just like we mentioned, are some of the ones that you commonly think of. But dating site ones, what's kind of the deal with those?
Well, we're seeing a little bit of increase in that, to where I call them the girls of Nigeria. If you could look them up on the internet and things. They will contact an individual, or men of Nigeria contact an individual and create a relationship with them over the internet. And then it leads into phone calls. And they try to make you think that they're going to come out here and see you. They get you to buy a plane ticket for them. They're never coming. It's part of the scam.
They have no intention of coming. Right?
Never. And what happens is that person you think that is coming to see you and is the love of your life gets kidnapped somewhere. And now you're paying ransom to somebody, and then you're paying a federal agent in another country to help you investigate this. So you're just constantly sending money to these people.
Why do you think it's so, I guess, difficult to realize that you're being scammed? I mean, in the moment you get a phone call, you read an email. Why is it so common for people not to realize or recognize these scams?
Because people are just kind-hearted in this. They want to help. If somebody's in trouble, they want to help. If you think you're going to win the lottery by giving some money away or a large amount of money, you're going to do it. Biggest thing I can say is just slow down with what when you're given these offers.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, great. Well, we're going to take our first break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a bit. You mentioned some of these recent scams, but we're going to dive into those a little bit more into detail. Joining me with Prescott Valley Police Department, Danny Owen, again talking scams. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
Good one, son.
Last summer, my new dad took me on vacation. First, we went deep sea fishing.
Wow! I'm so proud of you, son.
And then we went on Thunder Shark. That was awesome! Let's go again! 3 times. I gotta say, it was pretty cool.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are.
Oh, not again.
So, I just moved in with this family, and it's embarrassing. The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I was born, and I knew how to use the litter box. Look at that! That's disgusting! Oh, poop already! You're making me nervous. Oh, okay, I can't look at this anymore. I really hope he grows out of this. for his sake.
In the 1950s and early 1960s, the United States government conducted nuclear testing in the Nevada desert. The wind carried contamination throughout parts of Arizona, Nevada, and Utah. People living in the affected areas during that time are known as downwinders. 20 forms of cancer have been linked to downwinders, and free cancer screenings are available to qualified individuals. Over $1.8 billion has been paid out in compensation by the U.S. government. Please check the Downwinders websites for more information.
I've got a job to do today.
I've got a job to do today.
Have a good first day at work, Mom.
Your donations to Goodwill fund job training programs right in your community.
Feels good to start fresh, right?
Sure does.
And like that, you're a job creator.
Welcome back to Countywide. I'm Kyle Benedict, and we're talking phone scams today with Prescott Valley Police Department Detective Danny Owen. And you mentioned, right before we went to break, a couple of the recent scams we've been seeing throughout the county and Prescott Valley, kind of specifically a couple cases recently. And you mentioned the one where just recently we had an elderly woman scammed out of almost $10,000. She got a call saying a relative, her grandson, I believe, was in jail and needed money to get out.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about the details, I guess, behind that?
Yeah, basically what happens is they'll call in this case, your grandson's in jail in Mexico. And what you need to send him $5,000 to get him out of jail. So the other elderly victim got $5,000 and on a Green Dot card, and then contacted them. Once they took the money off the Green Dot card, they called her again and says, now I'm the attorney for the grandson in Mexico. I need another $2,500. The $5,000 was to the jail, and I'm the attorney. So the victim went back, got $2,500 more on a Green Dot card, and then I believe it was a different federal government agent that in Mexico that called and said, I need an additional amount of money. And it just keeps going like that until finally the victim realizes, I'm going to call somebody to see if this is true. So then she called her family member, and they said, no, he's been home the entire time. He's never been in Mexico. So, wow. But again, that's just the grandmother wanting to do the right thing and help her grandson out.
So for something like that, you guys get a phone call. What's the very first step that you guys do?
As far as us or the victim?
As far as you. Once the victim, this isn't right, I need to call the police department.
Typically, I'll see if they have a phone number for me that I can trace. A lot of times it's a throwdown phone, I call them, that you get at these Walmart or something like that that's untraceable for us. Determine where that's from, then I'll go and contact the place where the money went to see where the money was withdrawn at. And 90% of the times it's out of Mexico or Malaysia.
Okay. And at that point, how do you tell the victim that, hey, listen, I mean, you mentioned earlier in the show that in most cases, they don't get their money back. How do you go about kind of breaking that to the victim?
A lot of times they know up front that we're not going to get them anything back. But the biggest thing is just treat them as a victim. Don't treat them as someone that made a bad mistake and make them feel any worse than they already do. They've been victimized. So you got to start thinking that they're a victim right away.
And it's more common.
Comfort them.
Yeah, and it's more common than you would think.
Absolutely.
There was also one, I believe it was in July, a man also in Prescott Valley lost almost over $8,000. Supposedly this woman that he knew was stranded in Nigeria. Can you tell me about that one? Again,
it's the same thing as the grandson scam. They're asking for money. Multiple people will call you to say that this person's, I need money, I'm here, I can't contact you right now, but if you could just get a card and contact this number, this person's helping me. So naturally, you do the right thing. You get the money, put it on the card, they take it out, you get another email or phone call saying, hey, that wasn't enough, now I need it for this or that. And then eventually you make the call to determine if this is legit or not, and you try to track down this person and say, are you okay? And then you realize that it's a scam.
And by that time, I mean, the money's already there, the money's already processed, and it's too late to get that back.
Absolutely, because typically what will happen with these green dot cards, these prepaid cards, is the money goes on to those, and as soon as you call that person, they withdraw the money from that card, put it on a throwaway credit card, a one-time use credit card thing, or reloadable card that, again, is taken out in Malaysia when I track it outside the U.S.
What is a lottery scam?
Lottery scams are what, if I'm calling you from another country saying that you've won the lottery in this country, and in order to get the millions, I need you to pay the taxes up front. First off, it's against the law to participate in outside the U.S. lotteries. They're not coming in the U.S.
Okay.
But they'll really focus on the elderly. And I've had cases upward to $80,000, $90,000 where an elderly victim has continued to pay taxes on millions of dollars, thinking they were going to get the money and a brand new car.
How do they get a hold of the victims in this case? I mean, are these people who have participated in the lottery outside of the country, or how do they find Danny Owen, for example?
A lot of times they create profiles on people. They'll read the papers to see who's, like if you've lost a loved one, you're not thinking clearly right now, so they'll immediately start to target you as a victim. And go after you because they think you're more vulnerable at this point. But there's a lot of different ways to really find out information about an individual.
And that it's scary when you think of it like that.
It is.
Especially that they can, there's information and they know when you're talking to them, they know pretty much who you are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, if you've participated in, once you fall for one scam, your name kind of just filters out there everywhere in this underground world of fraud. Hey, contact this person, they'll send you money. And that one phone call leads to phone call after phone call after phone call after phone call of people trying to get money from you.
So these victims, is it a reoccurring thing for a while after they fall victim to one of these scams?
Absolutely. And a lot of times when law enforcement talks to them, they don't want to listen to what we have to say because the person on the other end is convincing them, or is way more convincing that, hey, you're going to get this money, you're going to get the car. The cops don't know what they're talking about.
So what do you guys do at that point? I mean, what is that? They just forked over $10,000 in this one scam, and then, for months afterwards, they're getting suspicious phone calls and emails. How do you get your name off of that?
It's kind of hard. Change your phone number, change your bank accounts, change everything about you. And if you're an elderly victim, I'll try to find a family member, somebody that can help you, that can be on your accounts with you to monitor things, kind of to keep you safe.
Do you guys see a lot of scams with commercial businesses or companies? Is that a common thing?
Not typically. What that more involves that I see are your credit card companies. That when people get credit card numbers and use those, involving the larger companies.
You mentioned when investigating these things, once you realize that they're kind of somewhere far away from here, out of the country or something, it's kind of really difficult to close these things at that point. So what's the best way to kind of have the public deal with these and make sure that they're not victims?
Be suspicious about everything. If somebody's going to ask you to send them money on a prepaid card or Western Union or MoneyGram, be suspicious, very suspicious. If they call saying they're from a company, go online and find the company's number and contact the company to see if it's legit. Don't just don't use what they give you. Investigate it.
And I'm sure it never hurts to contact the police department or you guys just to say, hey, I got this phone call about this. I just wanted to check up on it.
Yes.
Just to kind of make sure that.
I would recommend that, absolutely. The 2 minutes that it will take for you to call me or the police department and an officer to contact me at my agency and say, hey, this is somebody got a call from this company. I have a list of contacts of people. I can contact that company and say, is this legit? No. Then we can call the victim back and say, great, you did the right thing. You contacted law enforcement and hey, don't fall for this.
Okay, great. Well, we're going to take our second break. Sitting down with Prescott Valley Police Detective Danny Owen talking about scams. We'll be back just in a couple minutes.
got a job to do today.
I've got a job to do today.
Don't forget, you've got a job to do today.
Hey, Mom. I got the job. Thanks.
Got the job. Welcome aboard.
Have a good first day at work, Mom.
Your donations to Goodwill fund job training programs right in your community.
Feels good to start fresh, right?
Sure does.
And like that, you're a job creator.
In the 1950s and early 1960s, the United States government conducted nuclear testing in the Nevada desert. The wind carried contamination throughout parts of Arizona, Nevada, and Utah. People living in the affected areas during that time are known as downwinders. 20 forms of cancer have been linked to downwinders, and free cancer screenings are available to qualified individuals. Over $1.8 billion has been paid out in compensation by the U.S. government. Please check the downwinders' websites for more information.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Welcome back to Countywide. I'm Kyle Benedict, joined with Prescott Valley Police Detective Danny Owen, and we've been talking about scams, phone scams, email scams, lottery scams, kind of covering all of those. So, Danny, what's the best way to prevent yourself from becoming a victim?
Be suspicious about everything. Again, if somebody's asking you for your personal information or asking you to send money to them, let the red flags go up, because it's not typical that people are going to do that. I use an acronym, SCAM, the word SCAM. The S meaning be stingy about your personal information. Be stingy about the information you give out. The C is check your financial records annually. The A is ask yearly for your credit report from one of the 3 credit reporting bureaus. And the M is maintain careful records. So know what's coming in and know what's going out of your personal life as far as finances and things.
You talked about a security freeze. What is that?
Security freeze is it basically freezes your credit. You can go online to Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion, and it'll explain it on their webpage. But it freezes it to where you're not going to, if a criminal gets your personal information, they're not going to be able to get any type of loan in your name or do anything in your name that requires a credit check. Because when they call to or apply for credit, it immediately is froze. They can't check your credit score, so they're not going to give you credit. So it's a good thing.
And I'm sure, just the simple talk to your relatives and your elderly parents or your younger kids.
Absolutely. If you have elderly parents and you think that, they're not as sharp as they used to be, see if you can talk with them about being a monitor on their accounts and things like that. If there's multiple family members, maybe everybody wants to get on if one doesn't trust the other one, just to keep everybody honest. But that way you're monitoring what's going on and helping them to, because a lot of times they'll fall victim to this, and $10, $15 to $100,000 later you find out about it as a parent, as a child.
Okay, great. Well, a lot to cover, and I appreciate you being on here and talking about this. It's really important that we get the kind of make sure everyone's aware of this. So I appreciate you joining me. That's Prescott Valley Police Detective Danny Owen. I'm Kyle Benedict, and we'll see you next time here on Countywide.